have both borders. That was a pin there. Whoops. I'm glad it didn't stick me, but
Hello, friends. There's something wonderful about a cozy quilt. Today, we're going to spend a little time quilting together. I'll show you what I'm working on, share a few tips along the way, and probably make a mistake or two. So grab your fabric and let's get stitching.
hey. So hopefully I'm using my camera and my mic today. This is a different day. And I finished making the rest of those blocks that I had that I needed to put together. And I don't know. I'm thinking that this is probably going to be big enough. I could add another row here and another row there because it's going to be smaller once I sew all these together. But I wanted to show you the colors that came out. So I did struggle there for a little while, thinking, oh, I got to make sure that I don't use the shades. But you know what? This is a scrappy quilt, and it came to me. Why am I trying to, you know, specialize this when it's supposed to be scrappy? So I went ahead and I incorporated some other scraps in there just to get the rest of the blocks done. And this is what it's turned out to be. So at this point, I just need to decide if that's going to be big enough, if I'm going to keep it the way I have it with the diamonds instead of adding more. I think once I rearrange these and spread these colors out, see, and that I should just put it together the way it is. But I want to integrate. So these down here, the you can see the last four. There's a lot of greens and blues in this part of the quilt. I have purples in that part of the quilt and in this part. So I'm not sure how I'm going to evenly space it all out. Maybe I could just switch some of these out with those. And I think that would be easier. So I'm going to do that right quick. I really don't have any specific way in mind. I'm just grabbing them and swapping them out with the first one that catches my eye. We'll take some of these greens. Maybe to the next size that it can be, and then I'll start joining them. It looks like I got all my lattice work except for right here. Looks like my lattice work is nope. That's right. It's because I use different fabrics, but it's okay. I think the lattice will still show up. So that's what I'm going to do at this point. I'm going to go ahead and start trimming my blocks and putting the rows together the way it is. I think it'll be fun. Still have a lot of purple right in here, it seems like, but it's okay. I think I have them pretty good spread out. So, all right, I'll be back. Okay, so I got all my squares put together, and then I went ahead and I decided that I wanted to have some type of pieced border, and I knew that I would need some type of space between my quilt top and that pieced border. So I ran a strip of the white scrappy fabric that I had. It was very tempting to just get a piece of white fabric because I really wanted to be able to see that border around there. I mean, you can still see it, but it just kind of blends in with the quilt, which is fine. I stuck to my guns. I'm just using my scraps. So I really always liked the on-point border, the square on-point border. Never put one together before, never done it before. And I was like, well, if there's ever a time to learn how to do it, then it would be now. So I struck out, I tried to find some tutorials on it, video tutorials. I looked in my quilting books to see if I could find a way to do it. I did find a couple of articles online that showed me how to do it, and I just went forth and decided that, you know, I'd learn as I go. So I have I pieced together borders for each side, and what I've learned at this point, when you're using scraps, you want to make sure that there's a contrast so that you can see your square. Because if you look, some of these, like right in here, this yellow, you can barely see that diamond. So I'm putting together, I've ironed it, sewn it to the quilt top, both sides, and I've turned my quilt this way so that I would have easier access to these sides of the border. I was like, do I really want to do that many pieces again for each end? And I do. I think I love it. I love the way it looks. And so now I'm piecing together borders for the other remaining sides. And so that's where I'm at now. And yeah, so once I get those borders done and I get the quilt done, I think it would be fun to play around with this so that I get some more experience. And so maybe I'll integrate more of this into my quilts. It's time consuming, but fun. Very, very fun to get the pieces put together and trim them and sew them on and then see how it looks once you get it together. So, but that's where I'm at with this now, and I'm going to move forth and go ahead and complete the borders for each side and get those sewn on. So I'll be back. Okay, I thought I would show you how I'm putting this together. So I have a lot of these 2.5 inch squares that's already cut out. I tend to keep a stash of them, and they're all different colors. And so while I started out with them all colorized, they've kind of gotten mixed up. But I do try to keep them, for the most part, colorized. Like my yellows together, my greens together, my blues. And so I have already got, oh, it doesn't look like it's 2.5 inches. It's 2.5 that way. Not quite. Oh, I guess it's okay. It doesn't look 2.5 inches though. So I've got the one border on one. I've got a border done from the 2 remaining borders, and this is the last one that I need to put together. Here's some reds, really pretty reds. Not really putting any black ones. Here's some black ones that I have, but I'm not really using black. But I didn't, and so I didn't want it to be too off. Now this fabric, so I have these brown ones and I have these, and so the way I distinguish, I'm not going to use these as my on point star because it's mostly cream. I would say that the majority of the color in this is cream. There's just a little bit of black, brown in there, so I'm not going to use those because I want a really good contrast for those. So what I do is I just lay out a few different colors, and I'm not going to use this one either. I think these would be better reds because they're kind of solid. So I'll use those. They do have black in them, which is fine. So all I'm doing is I'm taking my cream or my light colors. I have a stack of those here. And I pick up a cream and then I pick up a color, and I try to do random ones, you know, like I'll do a red and then I'll do a green. I need 21 of these, and so I'm just going to do, now I would use these, but they're kind of a light color, so I probably won't use those as a contrast. What were those greens? Oh, here's some, well, that's fine. This one would be okay. This one would be really good. It would really show off all those bright colors, contrasted against the cream. And so I decided that I'm just gonna do 5 at a time. That way it'll help me keep track of how many I've done. And so that's 4, and that's 5. And then when I get to that point, I really haven't been able to use these very much. I think I got 2 together there. And then I just clip them apart. I don't have to, but I like to, because I like to seam press them, or finger press them. It doesn't really matter whether it's going towards. That's another thing I've learned with this, is that your seams, there's no special way that your seams are gonna go. So, and then I just stack them like so. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm just finger pressing them. Let's put these out of the way over here, so I have more room. I'm actually starting to get hungry. It's 12 o'clock. I think I've been sewing since about 10, and I feel like I've made really good progress. Okay, so I have those finger pressed open. So now I'm just going to add a light on this side. And I like the back tack on these because when you trim it and you start putting it on the side of the quilt top, the seams are a little bit subject to popping open. I learned that doing this. So what I've been doing is I've been back tacking them, but also I don't trim it until I'm ready to put it on the quilt, and I don't trim both sides. I just trim the one side that I'm going to be attaching to my quilt. That way the seams on the other side won't come open because I'm fiddling around with the quilt. They'll stay intact. until I'm ready to trim all the sides, if that makes sense. I'll show you what I mean when we get there. I am running out of my solid cream ones. I've got these print ones here. So I'll just start integrating those. I was thinking earlier, I think I'm going to invest in some, like a fat quarter, stack bundle, fat quarter bundle of neutrals that I can treat like scraps. Because one thing for sure in this one is that I have used all of my cream scraps. So now I'm just gonna finger press these all open, and then we'll join them. So to join them, I'm gonna make sure that I'm scattering these colors randomly, which I don't feel like I have a really good. And so I'm going to take this block, this center block, and I'm going to match it up with the end of this one. So I'm going to make sure that those pieces are lined up. Make sure my seams come together, and I do like to interlock them. And so I'm going to sew starting here all the way to the end of this one. And I want to make sure that the end of this one is going over and matching, at least matching that seam. So I could start from this end. Either way, it doesn't matter, but I'm basically sewing this center portion. And what that does is when you open it up, then you've got your pattern. So you're lining up the center of this block that's going to be face down with the edge of the outer block on this one. So we'll just make sure those seams are together. And here you really want to, one thing with this I've learned is you want to make sure, sorry for bumping the camera, you want to make sure you get your seams all the same size so that when you come to this part of the quilting, that everything matches, everything lines up as best as you can. And then just back tack. Trim my strings. And then when we open it up, finger press it, and we have our pattern starting to form. We'll use a red one next. So I'll take the red and I'll match it up to this corner. It seems like we're wasting this piece of fabric, but we're not, because once we trim it, then it's gonna develop that pattern. So I've got my seam matched up, doing 1/4 inch, because that's what I started out with. Get those seams together, and I'm not stretching it, I'm just laying it on top, and because I've been careful to make sure that my seams are, oh, and I'm out of bobbin. I just wanted this one. I've been wanting, I even wanted this one before I bought the 2010. Okay, so there's the red one. I'll go ahead and put the green next, just for the sake of scattering mixing up the colors. And even though you work to mix up the colors, you still might run into the situation where you get two of the same one together, like I did when I was putting the previous border on. I noticed in the corner there's two that are the same, but I wasn't paying attention, so it's okay. It's a Scrappy Quilt. And then I could just put the blue one up here, matching this color block. with that outside one. That femur press was really good. That lined up. That one's a little bit, I have a little bit of tension in there. That's fine. You really want those seams to line up because that's your point in the design. I have a little bit of a pleat there, so all I gotta do is just pull it a little bit. And you won't even be able to really tell it. See? And so there's that. I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 together. So I have 16 more to do. And I'll just do 3 more of these units, and then I'll be able to put those together, and then my border will be done. So I almost forgot to show you how I trim these. So I've got my unit together with the 21 that I needed. I'd already started trimming, but I'm just going to trim one side. And the way I trim it is, the first time I did it, I just sewed units of 5 and trimmed them, and then tried to sew them to the next unit that I made. And I was really struggling. So I after about 3 times doing that, or a couple times doing that, I thought, well, maybe I should wait to trim it after I get the whole side done. And so, yes, that works out a lot better for me. But basically, when you go to trim it, you want to make sure that you have a 1/4 inch of the fabric from that point. So here's a point in the center block. You want to make sure that you trim it a 1/4 inch away from that point. And so what I've discovered is that I can line up maybe 4 at a time. So like 1, I'm just making sure that that 1/4 inch mark is lining up all the way down those points. For whatever reason, it may be that it's shifting. I can't do it all the way down. So I just do the ones that I know are, like this one, I'm only getting 3. I'm getting these 3 in line. So I'm just going to trim those sides. And then I move it up. And then I'm able to get these accurate. See, this one lines up all the way down to this blue one. They're all have at least a 1/4 inch of fabric, so I can actually go to this one and trim it. There's probably a more conventional way to do this, but like I said, I've never done these before, and this is how I learned to do it. So I want to make sure that I have at least a 1/4 inch there on that edge, so when I go to sew it on. So see, down here, it's just not, so what if I lined it up this way? See, it's just not, I'm thinking that it probably is shifting underneath there. Yeah, that's what it was. So just be careful, make sure that it's straight. And you know, like I said, I'm just doing a few at a time. That way I'm not making any mistakes and trimming it too close or off. That way when I go to sew it to the side of my top, I don't have to really struggle with it. Ooh, my ruler slipped. I don't really have to struggle with knowing that if I match my seams, trimmed it just a little bit right there. I think it'll be okay. So now when I go to put it on my quilt, I don't have to, wonder if I'm getting a 1/4 inch on there. So I'm not going to trim this side. That way I don't have to worry about these seams. Because see, once you trim, those seams are, that's another reason I overlocked it, or back tacked it. Because those seams, once you trim it, it cuts that thread and you run the risk of it opening up. So I don't even trim this side until after I get it all sewn to the quilt, and then I can figure out, is this it? I'm going to put another border on, and then I can, because that way I'm not risking those seams coming open and, having holes in my quilt. So, all right, so that's that part. I hope that made sense, but I have no more to trim. This one's actually ready to be sewn to the quilt top now, and I'll go do that now. So I have both borders. There was a pin there. Oops. I'm glad it didn't stick me, but I've got my borders all the way around, and I think she looks gorgeous. She's busy. She's very busy, but I love it. It's my first truly scrappy quilt, and the first time I've ever made these on point borders. And I used several different ideas, combined different ideas together, and put my own spin on it. Um, I've learned a lot making this scrappy quilt. I think it's large enough now that I'll be happy with it. I don't think I'm going to add any more to it. I thought about maybe putting a 2-inch solid border around it. But I think this is good. This is big enough for me. It's for me. So, the one thing that really stands out to me that I learned from using scraps is that I learned some colors that go together that I would have never thought would make a good palette. But I also discovered something that I truly like, and I'm looking for it somewhere in this border. I put colors together that I truly, truly adore. And I'll find it just to see. It was in the first 2 borders that I did. There are some color coordinating together that I just randomly put it together that I loved. And I think, well, where did it go? Mm-mm-mm. I think I can't find it now. How funny. Okay. I'm almost sure it was right in here. These teals and browns and yellows. It just reminded me of, like, I don't know. I can't remember now where it was at. Is this it? Oh, I think this is it right here. Anyway, I discovered colors that were together that I truly love. That I would be happy to make my signature colors. Um, But I also learned a lot about, you know, what does make a contrast. Like these prints, even though they're cream background, they don't really serve really good as contrast. The print is so busy that it almost drowns out the on point star. I learned that. But it doesn't bother me. I love it. I think I'm just so happy with it. I love that it's busy. I love that it has all these different colors and different pieces in it. So the next thing that I will do is, if you can see, I didn't trim this side of those borders. Um, but I will, that will be the next thing I do. I'm going to trim it, and then I'll sandwich it. I'll quilt it on my machine. I'm just going to put a basic quilt design in it, maybe some big, what do they call it? Um, Meandering or something like that. And then I'll put the binding on it and she'll be done. And I think personally, a brown binding would be pretty. I'll probably just use a muslin back for the back. Um, Maybe I'll get, I don't know, a color. No, I think a cream like this color would be pretty. I mean, I could buy the yardage. Let's see how wide it ended up being. Let me measure it. I'm gonna find my measuring tape. I'll hide it from myself. So it ended up being 60. Yep, 60 by 60 by 72. It's about how big it is. So very good size quilt. 60 by 72. 60 by 72. Yeah, so that's how far I am with it. And then I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. Go get something to eat because I'm really hungry. It's now 1:45, and so I'm going to get something to eat, call it a day, and then maybe tomorrow I'll need to go get the backing and the quilt batting. I don't have that. Um, and I think I'm going to use a brown for the binding. I think that would be very pretty. Yeah, so okay, so I'll be back. Okay, it's all quilted. I was able to get her done today. I started quilting. Did I start quilting today? I think I did. I think I started quilting it today, but guys, I am done with it. All she needs now is a really good trim around the edges and a binding. And I think she turned out really pretty. I just echoed inside of the triangles, and then I echoed around the outside. That's a basting stitch you see going up the middle, which I'll take that out. But there she is. I used an 80-20 batting, which I feel like is kind of heavy. I usually don't like a heavy batting or a heavy quilt. And there's my favorite colors right in there. Those browns and blues and teals. There's a little bit of yellow in there. Some cream and beige. Just love those colors together. I think I want to put a quilt together that color. But this has been a fun quilt to put together. So there it is, the very first quilt that I quilted on my Tunic. Oh, obviously I made some mistakes. Well, I don't know that they'd be mistakes because I was able to pull it off and get it finished. But definitely learned quite a bit about loading the quilt on the quilt frame, and some other things that I can't think of at the moment, but they will pop up again, I'm sure, when I'm ready to load another quilt. Nothing to do with how I put my quilt together though. I was able to do pretty well. I didn't hit any bumps or anything like that. So, but yeah, it's the very first quilt that this is my first Scrappy quilt. This quilt is a lot of firsts for me. But she's all ready for her binding, and that's a wrap. All right guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video.